Welcome to the Resilient Mindset Podcast, an exciting new podcast by Resilience Queen, Chaston Martin. Justine is the owner and founder of the Resilient Mindset, a division of the Chaston Martin Corporation. Justine draws on her years of experience and knowledge, consulting with clients to develop and sustain a positive mindset. Focused on igniting your passion, purpose and power, follow the Resilience Queen each week as she delves into the mind of her guests, exploring fascinating stories and inspiring journeys.
Hi, today we've got Karen. Karen is the co-founder of the Chaston Centre, a place for meaningful living. In her corporate career, Karen was the Chief Financial Officer of a publicly listed company and a senior manager for more than 25 years. In July 2011, Karen's life changed forever when her 27-year-old son, Dan, suddenly and unexpectedly passed away at her back door. Within 15 months, Karen resigned from her CFO role and began a personal, professional and spiritual journey culminating in her becoming a beyond loss expert and co-founding the Chaston Centre. Karen's deep-seated knowing that there had to be a more loving way for the Western world to move beyond any of the 40-plus loss events culminating in her becoming a beyond loss expert, international best-selling author and speaker. Welcome, Karen.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, and how are you?
Very good, thank you. And it's so exciting to be here.
It's exciting to have you on Resilience Mindset podcast today. So, Karen, what does resilience mean to you?
Resilience means to me, look, it's a learned skill. A lot of people think you have it or you don't have it, whereas I know it's a learned skill and anyone can get it. But how you get resilience, or how you build your resilience is probably a better way of putting it, is through you deep diving into what has happened, understanding what has happened, and then you create new ways moving forward of, well, this is what I'll do next time. This is not what I'll do, but these are the things that I will also continue to do.
So learning from past behaviour.
It is learning from past behaviours. But you've got to do that deep dive, and that's the not so easy bit.
That's right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, you know, a lot of us just shove that to the side and try and cope and without exploring it.
Live in a world of avoidance.
That's right. That's right. So, Karen, what's an adversity you've faced and how did you draw on your resilience to cope?
Well, as you read in my bio, you know, Dan passing away very suddenly at our back door. We thought, my husband and I, who is, and he is Dan's dad, we thought a healthy 27-year-old had gone out the night before. And there we are, Sunday morning, expecting a lazy day at home, and within minutes we were running out that back door, thinking that he had just passed out at the back door. Because he had saliva coming out of his mouth, but unfortunately he had passed away a few hours earlier. So, to be quite honest, I did what everyone did at those stages. Day after his funeral, I went straight back to work, eating more, working more, and drinking a whole lot more. It was, avoidance tactics, but isn't that what we're told to do? Just give it time, keep busy, everything will be all right. And of course it's not. But because I tried to carry on, I had to have another life-changing event come 15 months after Dan passing, and that came in the form of the beautiful company which I loved was merging with another. And they said to me, Karen, you're not going to be CFO in the new company, but we want you to come with us. You'll be doing everything you're doing now plus more, which was fine up until the stage when they gave me my contract, which was for 2/3 of what my current salary was. So after being angry for like 48 hours, I then started to wake up from what I like to call my Groundhog Day days. And I realised very quickly, I'm only there for the money. I'm wasting most of it just to get through the day. And to be quite honest, Dan passed, nothing happened. If I take this job and if I work in this job, it's going to kill me from the inside out. So they're the sort of things that really got me to go, there has to be a better way to do loss. And with over 40 different loss events that can affect all of our lives, I just knew there had to be a better way. And it's a trait that I had as a CFO. You know, I was always, got to be a better way to do this, got to be a better way to do this. So I would go searching for it. And I think that's what building your resilience is all about, is taking the adversity, learning from it, growing from it, and finding that better way, not just for yourself, but for other people.
So you made the decision that you weren't going to take the job?
Yep.
And then what happened?
And that's when, well, I had a contract where we both had to give 6 months notice. So I worked 5 of those 6 months with the company. And it wasn't easy, believe me. It wasn't easy when you know they're leaving and you've got former bosses who aren't so happy with the fact that you're not coming with them. But, you know, that was what happened at the time. I knew very early on that I wasn't going to be an accountant anymore. I knew that this was my pivotal moment. And the more I started to connect back to me and to really feel into me, and, you know, I was so, like, if I show you a photo, I look 10 years older then than what I do now, because I wasn't living and loving my life. From the outside, I looked like I was. You know, I looked really successful, but I wasn't. So what happened was I knew really quickly I was going to be doing something different. That's when I became a life coach, and that's when I thought originally I was going to work with women, but that didn't pan out the way I thought it would. But very quickly I got into becoming a beyond loss expert, because I knew that the better way, that I had done it the hard way, and I really knew that there had to be that easy way. So that's what I do. I help people to move beyond any kind of loss, which I just love.
The listeners wouldn't be able to see the smile on your face at the moment, but can definitely see it. And if you pop over to Justine Martin Corporation YouTube channel, you'll be able to have a look at the video as well. But you just radiate that you can see that.
Thank you.
You love your job and that you love helping.
I love learning. Like every day there's always something new, and I love that. But it does, you have to stop in order to get that. And that's right. I really feel that's what our last 2 years have been about.
That's awesome, Karen. So what other techniques did you use to cope and draw out that resilience?
Well, the first thing was I knew I had to come back to me, and it was amazing that when you start to realise that things just come to you. Now, I've always been spiritual. 10 years before Dan passed, I read a book called Life on the Other Side by Sylvia Browne, and it's an amazing book. It goes into, this was in like 2001. So it goes, she was a medium, clairvoyant, channeler, and through her guides, she wrote this book explaining what we do before we come down here, how we plan our life, the people in it, the events that are going to happen, then how we live our life, and then when we go back, what happens, you know, doing a life review and doing all these different things. So I really drew on that because Dan, we all thought was a healthy Dan. A lot of people weren't coping. So I went and bought 10 books of that, and I handed it out to everyone. I said, here, read this. We've got an insight to what's, you know, going on in Dan's thing. And then I also joined a group called Braveheart Women, which is an American-based thing. And I got so many learnings. That's who I did my life coaching through. And I got so many learnings from them about women, about what happens in our body, how different we are to men and women are different, especially when it comes to cortisol, adrenaline, to actually understand a woman's body. It was just such a growth experience for me. I was in my mid-50s and I was like, what the hell? Like, why didn't we know this in our 20s? You know, we're living this busy life. We don't know how to relax, and we don't know how to, like, get beyond the stress of our lives.
Because we're not taught it.
Yeah, and we have women in their 30s or late 30s going, okay, now I'll have a baby, and they wonder why they can't have it. It's like, no. If you understood this, if you understood how to, you know, breathe into your body, the things that you can do to release the cortisol and the adrenaline and stuff. And it was like, why isn't this mainstream? You know, it was incredible. So it was people coming to me. I have so many spiritual people in my life. I've had so many mentors of, you know, like in my corporate life, I used to look at my bosses, the CEOs. I used to go, wow, look at them. How great are they out the front talking to people, commanding the audience? I could never do that. And here I am. It was like, oh, my God, how much have you held yourself back? You know, and we all do it, not only men, well, not only women, but men do it as well. But it's like, oh, my God. So I had all these mentors come to me. I'm an accountant. I've written 8 books. Like that, where did all that come from? You know, before I wrote my first book, I caught up with a school friend and I said, I'm planning to write a book. And she's going, what do you mean you're going to write a book? You were hopeless at English. I'm like, 40 years ago.
Same. That's why I was in the bottom English class. It's like, how can you write a book? Easy.
It's like we do move on from high school.
And there is spell check on computers now.
And Grammarly. How great is
Yes, I know. It's great. Well, that's wonderful. So you've written 8 books.
Well, I've written 5. Is it 4? 4. Yeah, 4 paperback books and 4 gratitude journals, numerous ebooks. I just love it.
And we're going to put the links of that in the bio. So for anyone that wants to have a look at Karen's books, and better still purchase some of them, there will be links in the bio. So, Karen, who are your role models in resilience and how do they inspire you?
Oh, wow. What a good question. Who are my role models in resilience? You know who's popped in my head? It is Brendan Burchard. I don't know if you know Brendan Burchard. He's a personal development guru, American, of course. I just find that he's had adversity in his life, like he had a near-death experience when he was like 19, and he really did change the whole way that he then, he realised at 19, my life needs to change because I want to make sure at the end of my life, that I know that I lived, I know that I loved, and I know that I mattered, and I feel that is a really great model. So I love him. Obviously, I think Oprah is amazing. I read a lot of her books, and the more you read about Oprah, the more that you realise that her childhood was a childhood that, most people would go, how did you become the person who you are today? Which is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. So, there's some really good role models and inspiration for all of us that are listening. So what are your passions in life, Karen?
Well, my passions in life now are being in nature, being near water. I love writing. I am really like we're all spiritual beings, right? But we all forget how intuitive we are. And I'm becoming more and more and more like listening to my gut and watching, like there's no coincidences in life, but we all think there are. But when you start to, look at the thread that brings things together, I love watching that and coming back. I love hanging out with my children and my grandchildren, which I'm so blessed to have.
How many grandkids have you got?
Okay, so I had. Well, let's go back. So when I was 16, we're going way back now, I was pregnant. Don't know how it happened. Well, yes, I did. But anyway, those bloody panel vans in the 1970s. So anyway, I became pregnant, and at 16, I knew I didn't want to get married, and I was brought up Catholic, so I didn't want to have an abortion. Not that I have any objection to people who do, but for me, it wasn't right for me. So I chose to adopt her out. But she has been in my life for the past 20 years, and it's been a very, as you can imagine, volatile relationship, but we're in a really good space now. So one of my passions is getting to know her and watching how beautiful our relationship is. So she has 3 children who are my grandchildren, but they're older. I think they're 21, 19 and 16. And then I also had 3 boys. So Ben's the oldest. And then I had Josh and Dan, and Josh and Dan are twins. So Dan was 1 minute younger than Josh. So Dan passed away just over 10 years ago. Ben now has a son who is 8 months old. little Austin, and Josh has Raphael, who'll be 3 in May, and Sophia, who is 3 months old. So I just love having the children around. But what I love more than anything else is watching them go through their emotions, watching them develop, and it's amazing. When you have your own children, we're all so busy with creating our home, our career, our friends, all those
the
things.
Stress and the responsibility of being a parent.
As
grandkids, it's different.
You can watch them. You can really see how we all come into this world perfect, but it's just through the growing process, or someone saying, don't do that, don't be that person, do this, that we slowly change. And I honestly believe that our whole life journey is for us to come back to have the essence of the baby that we were born with. It's just a beautiful journey.
Yeah, it's a different love being a grandparent to being a parent. I've got 6 grandkids. And
it is, isn't it? It's
totally different. You can't even explain it. And the first time that they call you nanny, oh my God, my ovaries.
Well, Raphael is meant to call me Nana Kaz, but he dropped the Nana, so it's just Kaz. And I think, I don't care. So I know when the other 2 start talking, it'll probably be similar.
I'm nanny to a couple, and I'm nana to 3 of them, because I've got step grandkids as well as biological ones. So nana, nanny.
It's so nice, though, isn't it?
It is. Oh, it's wonderful, and you know, to see them grow and to see them build their own resilience in things. Yes. And, you know, COVID the last couple of years, watching, you know, the school age grandies and the adversity that they've been facing, and that's been heartbreaking.
Yeah, it has.
For them.
But watching them quickly move through their emotions, we can carry grudges and we can hold on to things. Whereas the young ones, like within 5 minutes, they can be crying, happy, sad, laughing. They could go through every single emotion, and you just think, and they do what they're meant to do. You know, energy, emotion, it just flows through them.
That's right. Until they learn to control it all, which for some of us is not until they're in their 30s. So do you want to tell us briefly about the books that you have written, the 4 that you've written? You've mentioned that you've done some gratitude journals and that.
Yeah, I don't have any of them here. Okay, so my first book was called The Journey to Becoming Your Own Best Friend, which was an amazing book. And then I wrote Beyond a Mother's Worst Nightmare, which was probably 4 years into my life after Dan had passed. So that was a while ago. Then I wrote Teenagers Playing Grown-Ups, which is the story of 4 teenage girls becoming pregnant, all choosing a different option. So one got married, one had an abortion, one chose single motherhood, and the other chose adoption. So when I was pregnant, 2 of my girlfriends were pregnant at the same time, and one did get married and one did have an abortion. So it was it's not their stories, but it was the 4 stories. My aim is to make that into a mini-series one day. I've been saying that for far too long. I need to do that one. And then I wrote Live Love by Design, which was the update of my first one, which was The Journey to Becoming Your Own Best Friend. And then late last year, I released Demystifying Loss, which is an international bestseller. And I have to say, this, I feel, is an amazing book because I have so many great stories in it about people I've worked with, obviously with their permission, and just the journey through, because the different loss events, the hard way we do loss, the more loving way we do loss. And I just think it's a book that we all require, because we are all going to have multiple major losses throughout our lives, and most of us have no idea what to do apart from avoiding, which, puts us into suffering in silence, in isolation, affecting all areas of our lives and our relationships. So that's what I love about it more than anything else.
Well done. Yeah. International bestseller.
Yeah, which is so cool.
And look, I can relate to not knowing what to do when someone passes. I lost my mum when I was 26 and had a 7-week-old baby, and
You're very young.
it was a very hard time. My mum had MS as well as I do, and my mum was not a well woman. She had breast cancer when she was 27. She got MS at 33. She got cervical cancer at 40 and lung cancer at 49 and passed away from complications from MS at 49. So we kind of thought that she was going to live forever as you do with your parents, and it was very unexpected and quite fast when she did pass away. But my brother and I didn't know what to do. Mum had passed away in the hospital, and then it's like, well, what do we do now? And I remember going out to the nurse and saying to the nurse, we don't know what to do. And it was like 5 a.m. in the morning, and she goes, oh, you call a funeral home. And I'm like, well, we're not from Sydney. We live 8 hours north. I said, can you recommend someone? She said, no, I can't. You'll just have to look in the yellow pages.
Oh.
Now, I was mortified in doing that. And, we don't talk about grief enough. No. We don't talk about death enough in our culture.
We don't.
And we didn't know what to do. We just did not know what to do. And it was such a hard adversity to come up in front of. And we ended up having 2 funerals for my mum, and we had one in Sydney, and then we had her taken back to the town in Glen Innes where we grew up, and just even the price of having her transported up there was ridiculous.
I know.
And
well, Dan passed in Sydney, and we had his funeral on the Gold Coast. So yes,
you would have had the same predicament. Yeah, exactly. So there needs to be more conversations around death and
totally.
And what you want to have done at the end. And, enough people don't even have wills.
That's Dan didn't have a will, which, caused a lot of troubles because, we have insurances attached to our super. So, and he had a few supers, so it all added up sort of thing. Yep. Considering I lent him $200 to go out the night before.
Bugger.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree, and that's what I liked about writing this book. It was a book that I was like, I wish I had this book when I was going through, Dan, and, going through my redundancy and going through so many things in life. And, some of the minor loss events which have really come to the forefront, loss of freedom, loss of choice, status, identity, changing work conditions, recreational and social activities have all come up in the last couple of years. But there's one thing that always comes up with every single person I work with, no matter what reason they come to me, is loss of identity.
Yeah.
Is we lose who we are, which I sort of touched on when I was talking about the grandkids. We lose who we are during life. It could be a life partner. I don't like it when you're that person. Don't do this, don't do this. And you end up looking in the mirror and going, who are you? And that's what I experienced when I left my corporate life. After I started to slowly wake up, I looked at myself and I went, I don't even like who you are. I was always angry and I was always, busy, very short with people. I am short, but I was also very short with people. And it was really funny. A few years later, I was listening to a podcast. It was a show on, I can't remember. It was a health and wellness sort of site. And they said, if you're always angry, you require more green in your life. And I thought, wow, that's so true. Because just probably about a year before I left corporate, I was starting to green juice every day.
Yep.
And then I'd probably been about 5 years into my daily green juicing when I read this, and I went, oh my God, this is so true. I did require more green in my life. But then I took it the next step further. I also required more nature. And green.
Well, that is green.
Yeah, and green is the colour of the heart chakra. I needed more love in my life, not only for others, but for myself. And when it just all came together in such a beautiful little package that I thought, wow. So whenever I do meet people with anger issues, I will have that conversation with them. because it is surprising that when you do start to love who you are more, when you start to put, vibrant, healthy foods into your body and spend time in nature, it's amazing how you change your whole physicality. It's amazing.
That's right. I do the 10 top tips to resilience and grounding, fueling your body, fueling your mind and grounding are some of those top 10 tips.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And walking on the earth in bare feet.
Yeah, and that's the problem with
often. Yes.
That's the problem with society now, is that we all have rubber-based shoes and not leather sole ones.
Yes.
So we're not grounding even when we're walking because of modern shoes.
The best grounding exercise you can ever do is go and put your feet into the ocean if you're lucky.
Yes.
You can just feel the whole tension release from your body.
Or just even on grass.
Yeah.
Take off your shoes and socks and stand on some grass.
And ground it in.
Oh, my backyard was like a concrete jungle when I bought it, and tiny, tiny patch of grass I've had put in. That's all that can go in, and that's my grounding spot out the back. Yeah. Otherwise, I had to stand on the front nature strip to ground. Yeah. But, it just makes so much of a difference. And you're right about the ocean, or, go to the park, take your shoes and socks off and just put your feet on the grass.
And most people won't believe this, but the Native Americans, before they used to go into battle, they would lean up against a tree and they would ask permission from the tree first, and then they would sap all of the energy from the tree to help them to be able to fight longer, fight harder, to actually energize themselves so that they could go into battle to obviously look after their land and their families and their people and everything like that, and the animals and everyone around them. And I always love it. And whenever I do that, it feels like two hands have come from the tree and they feel like they're wrapping around you and giving you this amazing hug. So
I love hugging trees. I was the only one that did that.
Just the way it comes down your back when you sort of make sure there's no ants on the tree. Because otherwise you're going to have all ants in your undies or something. It's so good. It's so good.
There you go, listeners. There's something for you all to do.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay, so have you got an offer for us, I believe?
Yes. Well, I'm not going to give you my whole Demystifying Loss book, but I'm going to give you a download to the first chapter because it really is a great insight into loss. So I highly recommend that you take advantage of that. And, of course, I'll also give you a link. If you are going through some kind of grief from, could it be a death of a loved one? It could be a divorce or a job loss or your health or wealth or your pets. So many things at the moment are causing so much grief to people. I'll also give you a link to book into my calendar, and I'm more than happy to just, have a quick chat with you, guide you on, make some best steps for you moving forward. 15-minute, half-hour chat. More than happy to do that for you listeners.
Thank you, Karen. That's very generous of your time.
Thank you.
So how can people get in contact with you?
Yep. Well, the Chaston Centre is the website to visit, and it is and then CHASTON, and centre is spelt the Australian way, CENTRE.com. Or you can email me at karen@karenchaston.com.au. Always open. I'm on all the social media links, which you'll have at the below here. So reach out and, say hi. Let me know where how you found me.
Yep. Thank you for that. Now, I do have a couple of quick questions for you.
Yep.
These are surprise ones.
Okay.
Do you eat pineapple on pizza?
No.
Next one, coffee, tea or hot chocolate?
Tea, green tea.
I should say, or wine.
No, I stopped drinking in the end of 2018.
Well done you.
I used to drink a bottle of wine a day. So it is well done me.
It is well done.
Really easily.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you follow an AFL team?
No.
Neither do I. Okay, here's a very controversial one.
Okay.
Should the loo paper go forward or backwards?
Okay, so it depends. So the loose paper should hang over so it's down, so that when you pull it, you don't pull a whole lot. If the loose paper goes down at the back, you pull it, too much comes off.
I'm with you. So it's at the front, not the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you, Karen, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board. And remember, listeners, you can contact Karen. The links will be in her bio that will be attached to this podcast. And keep smiling.
Yep. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed the Resilience Mindset podcast. Remember to subscribe to the podcast to get your weekly fix listening to Resilience Queen Justine Martin. Follow Justine on social media at Resilience Mindset or log on to justinemartin.com.au. And until next time, remember, life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger and more resilient.